The Secretary General was shocked at the news of the terror attack on the bus today in the center of Tel Aviv. In a statement we issued this morning, he condemned this attack in the strongest possible terms. There are no circumstances that justify the targeting of civilians. The Secretary General is saddened and expressed his sympathy to those injured in the blast. The Security Council is scheduled to hold a meeting on the Middle East this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Meanwhile, the World Food Program will provide emergency food assistance in the coming days in different areas of Gaza to 350 families, around 2,100 people, whose houses were destroyed during the recent attacks. These families will receive, for an initial 10-day period, a ration of canned food and bread through local bakeries using the World Food Program wheat flour. On Tuesday, 4 trucks with WFP stock sufficient to feed 5,600 for a month attempted to enter via the Kerem Shalom crossing but had to turn back due to rocket fire. It is critical to ensure this access point is open for humanitarian food and other supplies in the coming days. This morning, the Director General of UNESCO, Irina Bokova, issued a statement in which she said she is alarmed by the escalation of violence in Israel and Gaza. She condemned the killing of 3 Palestinian journalists in airstrikes 20th of November. She voiced alarm over reports that media are being targeted in the airstrikes and rocket fire between southern Israel and Gaza. She also expressed her alarm at strikes on schools in both Gaza and southern Israel. Schools should offer a safe environment for children, she said, noting that the attacks against them is a denial of the right to education and should be firmly condemned.
People have died and are still dying, 5 in Israel, 150 or more in Gaza, including children. About 1/3 of 150 people dead in Gaza are children, and thousands are being traumatized right now. Now we have heard the voice of UNESCO and the voice of the World Food Program. Where is the voice of UNICEF?
Well, you'd have to ask UNICEF about that. I know that the Secretary General, who speaks for the whole United Nations family, has been very vocal and is in the region right now precisely trying to convince leaders of the region to cease the violence, to use their influence against those who are using violence, and to stop the suffering of the people on both sides of the border. Secretary General has said that the attacks on Gaza and the rocket attacks on Israel are not acceptable, and that these should cease immediately. He is there speaking on behalf of the whole UN family, and I would refer you to ask UNICEF if they have a specific point of view. Nizar?
Word. Here we are talking about targeted killing of journalists. Even they are telling them, evacuate, or we are going to kill you, or to destroy the building. And they have done it. They made that evident when they killed 3 journalists yesterday. The Secretary General was quick to condemn the attack in Tel Aviv, but he did not condemn any of these attacks, which even included hospitals in Gaza. Why is this double standard here?
There is no double standard. The Secretary General is in the region precisely because of the violence affecting both sides of the Gaza-Israeli border. And he has made very clear his opposition, complete opposition to any form of violence, and the fact that this violence only leads to suffering and killing of innocent people. He's been very strict on that. As a matter of fact, the most significant sign of what he feels for the region is the fact that he is there now.
But with the feedback we receive from our readers and viewers, we find that he is viewed as a siding. When he condemns the attack in Tel Aviv and doesn't condemn the attack on a hospital in Gaza, when he doesn't condemn the attack of journalists, when he doesn't condemn the attack of the killing of children and women, Al-Dalu, in the Dalu case, he did not condemn that attack at all.
Of course he condemned the attack on the Al-Dalu case. He said that it was a horrible situation. He said it right there in a statement that we issued, so he has been issuing statements on both sides.
The journalists killed in Gaza. Mm-hmm. You just read that there is a reaction from UNESCO Bokovas, right? But in this case, it's a particular case because the IDF, the Israeli army, has been saying since yesterday that they actually targeted those journalists. So it's not like a case where, you know, we are targeting a military target and then the children were there. We're sorry. Those journalists, Israel admits that they were targeted because they say that they are extremists, they belong to Hamas, or I don't know. Now, because if Bokovas is issuing a statement where she condemns the killing of journalists, and the Israeli army is admitting that they are targeting them, I would like to know the reaction to the Secretary General about this situation.
The Secretary General, as we have always said, firmly believes that journalists must be able to accomplish their work without violence and without threats of violence. I said that yesterday, I said that the day before. We have said that continuously from this podium. The Secretary General has said that. Now the Director General of UNESCO has said it. That continues to be the policy of the UN. Mr. Abadi?
Violence in Gaza and around Gaza is part...
The what?
The violence in Gaza is part and parcel of the general Middle East conflict. Now, we know the Arab plan has failed. We also know that the work of the quartet has failed. Does the Secretary General look forward to a new initiative, for example, on the part of the United States?
Well, the Secretary General is in the region right now. He is discussing, obviously, not only the actual violence, but also talking about the overall situation. We still believe the quartet is effective. The fact is that the parties did not follow what the quartet asked them to do last September. So you'll have to recall that it takes two to tango. The quartet can make suggestions. The other sides, the sides who are in conflict, have to accept those suggestions and implement them. But the Secretary General is, of course, very concerned with what's happening there, and that's one of the reasons why he's in the region, precisely to raise these issues with leaders, and that's why he's discussing and doing shuttle diplomacy between the various capitals of the region. Up there?
A question about the role of Security Council. We have seen, like, in the past week, there was disagreement within the Security Council over the crisis in Gaza. How the Secretary General sees these in action, and how he believes that these could affect his efforts to bring an end to the violence in Gaza.
Well, as you know, we don't comment on what the Security Council does. That is made up by member states, and it is up to them to decide on their plan of action and on their work.
But in the past, to follow up on that one, he expressed his not dismay, at least disgruntlement that the Security Council failed to address the Syrian issue. The Secretary General always expresses his views on that.
Well, I'm sorry, I've answered the question. Matthew?